Imagine for a moment that your body is a complex biological machine, highly sophisticated, designed to run for a century or more. But like any advanced machine, the most critical moment of operation is the startup sequence. Think about a space shuttle launch. 90% of the risk and 90% of the fuel usage happens in the first few minutes of liftoff. If the ignition sequence fails, the mission doesn't just get delayed. The mission is aborted. Your body follows a nearly identical protocol every single morning. Scientists call this the Cortisol Awakening Response. It is a biological window that lasts exactly 60 minutes from the moment your eyelids flutter open. During this golden hour, your internal systems are desperately waiting for instructions. They are waiting for inputs that will determine your blood pressure, your hormone levels, your digestion, and your energy for the next 16 hours. Most people, and sadly most seniors, unknowingly sabotage this sequence. They wake up and immediately check the news, flooding their brain with stress. They shuffle to the kitchen and pour a cup of coffee, dehydrating a system that is already dry. They eat a piece of toast, spiking their insulin when their muscles are starving for protein. They fail the launch, and then they wonder why they feel tired at 2 p.m. They wonder why their joints ache. They wonder why their memory is foggy. It is not just aging, it is a failed ignition sequence. In this investigation, we are going to dismantle your morning routine and rebuild it based on human physiology. We are going to give you 5 specific protocols, the golden hour rule, that will force your body into a state of repair and rejuvenation. And we begin with the most urgent crisis your body faces at 6 a.m., the crisis of viscosity. While you were sleeping, your body was not passive, it was working hard. You were breathing out vapor with every exhale. You were sweating under the sheets. Your kidneys were filtering blood. Over the course of 8 hours, you lost between 1 and 2 pounds of water. But you did not lose any red blood cells. You did not lose any cholesterol. You did not lose any platelets. So, the liquid volume of your blood decreased, but the solid matter stayed the same. This means you wake up with blood that is thick. It is concentrated. Medically, we say your blood has high viscosity. In simple terms, your heart is trying to pump maple syrup instead of water. This is not a trivial matter. This thickness creates friction in your delicate arteries. It forces your heart to pump harder, raising your blood pressure the moment you stand up. It is no coincidence that the highest rate of heart attacks and strokes occurs between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. The pump is struggling against the sludge. So, the very first rule, before you check your phone, before you put on your slippers, before you even think about coffee, is the hydraulic reset. You must re-liquefy your blood. The protocol is simple but non-negotiable. You need 16 ounces, that's about 500 milliliters of room temperature water, immediately. Why room temperature? Because ice water shocks the vagus nerve and constricts the blood vessels in your stomach, slowing down absorption. You want the water to pass through the stomach and get into the bloodstream as fast as possible. Why 500 milliliters? Because that is the volume required to trigger a gastrorenal reflex. When that volume of water hits your empty stomach, it sends a signal to your kidneys that says, fresh water is coming, dump the toxins. This brings us to the second reason for the water, the urea cycle. All night long, your brain has been cleaning itself. Your liver has been processing waste. This metabolic trash has been dumped into your kidneys. Your kidneys are holding this concentrated toxic soup, waiting for enough water to flush it out. If you do not drink water and instead drink coffee, you are adding a diuretic to a dehydrated system. You force your kidneys to recycle the dirty water.
They reabsorb some of that waste back into the blood just to keep your pressure up. You literally poison yourself with yesterday's trash. But when you drink that pint of water, you open the floodgates. The kidneys flush the urea, the blood thins out, the heart relaxes because the fluid is easy to pump. The oxygen delivery to your brain increases by up to 15% in minutes. You feel that morning fog lifting? That isn't caffeine. That is hydration. That is your brain finally getting a drink. But once the blood is flowing, we need to turn on the engine itself. We need to tell the master clock that the day has begun. And this requires a specific type of fuel you cannot eat, you can only absorb through your eyes.
You can only absorb through your eyes. Deep inside your brain, right behind the bridge of your nose, sits a tiny cluster of 20,000 neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN. This is your master clock. It controls every single biological rhythm in your body. It tells your liver when to produce enzymes. It tells your gut when to move. It tells your pancreas when to release insulin. But here is the problem. The SCN sits in the dark. It is encased in bone. It has no idea what time it is. It relies on a single input to calibrate itself: light. Specifically, high-intensity blue light wavelengths that hit the retina. When you wake up in the morning, your master clock is drifting. It is waiting for the sunrise signal to synchronize your organs. If you stay in a dark bedroom, or if you walk around in dim indoor lighting, the clock stays confused. It thinks it is still night. This triggers a cascade of hormonal failure. The most important one involves cortisol. Now, you've probably heard that cortisol is the stress hormone and that it is bad. That is only half true. Chronic low-level cortisol all day is bad, but a massive, sharp spike of cortisol in the morning, that is vital, that is healthy.
This is called the Cortisol Awakening Response, or CAR. Think of it as the spark plug in your car engine. You need that explosion of energy to wake up your immune system, to mobilize glucose for fuel, and to sharpen your focus. If you do not get light in your eyes within the first hour of waking, this spike is delayed. It is weak. Instead of a sharp peak, you get a low rumble. This leaves you feeling groggy and unmotivated. And worse, because the peak happened late, the drop-off happens late. This means you will have high cortisol at 10 p.m. when you are trying to sleep, which causes insomnia. So, how do we fix this? We initiate protocol number 2, the Photon Bath. You must get natural sunlight into your eyes for at least 10 minutes. And here is the critical detail that most people miss. It must be direct sunlight, not through a window, not through a windshield. Why? Because modern glass is engineered to block UV and specific blue wavelengths to protect furniture from fading. But those are the exact wavelengths your SCN needs to see. When you look through a window, the light intensity drops from 100,000 lux outside to maybe 5,000 lux inside. It is biologically invisible to your master clock. You must step outside. You do not need to stare at the sun. Please do not do that. Just be outside. Look at the trees. Look at the sky. Even on a cloudy day, the light energy penetrating the clouds is 50 times stronger than your living room lamps. Those 10 minutes do more than just wake you up. They start a timer. When the light hits your retina, it sends a signal to your pineal gland that says, production of melatonin stops now, and set a timer to release melatonin again in exactly 16 hours. By getting light at 7 a.m., you're literally programming your sleep for 11 p.m. If you skip the morning light, you cannot fix your sleep at night. The timer was never set. So, we've thinned the blood with water, we've synchronized the clock with light, the machine is running, the engine is idling, but now the body needs raw materials. It has been fasting for 10 hours. Your muscles are in a state of breakdown. They are essentially eating themselves to provide amino acids for your immune system. To stop this self-cannibalization, you need to eat. But if you reach for the standard senior breakfast, the toast, the oatmeal, the banana, the orange juice, you're making a catastrophic mistake. You're fueling the machine with sugar when it is screaming for structural repair. We need to talk about anabolic resistance. We need to talk about why your muscles have become deaf to protein and why you need a massive dose of a specific molecule to save them from atrophy.
save them from atrophy. This brings us to the most dangerous lie in the history of nutrition. We've been conditioned to believe that a heart-healthy breakfast consists of a bowl of oatmeal, a slice of whole wheat toast, and a glass of orange juice. If you are 20 years old, this breakfast is fine. Your body is swimming in anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. You can look at a piece of bread and build muscle. But if you are over 60, this breakfast is a metabolic disaster. Why? Because of a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. As you age, your muscle tissue changes. It develops a thick skin. It becomes resistant to the chemical signals that tell it to grow. Think of your muscles like a grumpy old man who has turned off his hearing aid. A small amount of protein, like the 5 grams you get in oatmeal, is like a whisper. Your muscles literally cannot hear it, so the signal to build muscle never gets sent. And because the body is always in a state of flux, if you are not building, you are breaking down. You are eating, but your muscles are starving. This is sarcopenia in action. To overcome this deafness, you cannot whisper, you have to shout. You need a massive, sudden influx of amino acids into the bloodstream to break through that resistance and flip the switch to on. That switch has a name. It is called mTOR, the mammalian target of rapamycin. This is the master controller of cell growth. When mTOR is on, you build tissue. When mTOR is off, you lose tissue. And the only thing that turns mTOR on effectively in a senior body is a specific amino acid called leucine. Leucine is the key in the ignition. But here's the catch. You need a specific amount of leucine to turn the key. Scientists call this the leucine threshold. You need roughly 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in a single meal to trigger the mechanism. Let's do the math on your oatmeal breakfast. A bowl of oats has maybe 0.5 grams of leucine. The toast? Almost 0. The juice? 0. You consume all those calories, but you fail to reach the threshold. The key doesn't turn. The engine doesn't start. You spend the entire morning in a catabolic state, dissolving your own thighs to keep your immune system running. Now, compare that to protocol number 3, the 30-gram rule. You must consume 30 grams of high-quality protein within 90 minutes of waking up. Why 30 grams? Because 30 grams of animal protein, eggs, Greek yogurt, whey protein, or lean meat, contains exactly enough leucine to cross that 3-gram threshold. When you eat 3 large eggs and a side of Greek yogurt, you are flooding your system with leucine. You are screaming at your muscles, grow. And finally, they hear you. The mTOR pathway ignites. Muscle protein synthesis skyrockets by 50% or more. You have stopped the bleeding. You have shifted from decay to repair. I had a patient named Robert. He was frail. He walked with a shuffle. He told me he ate healthy every morning, oatmeal and a banana. I told him to throw the oatmeal in the trash and eat a 3-egg omelet with cheese. He was terrified of the cholesterol. I told him, Robert, cholesterol isn't killing you. Frailty is killing you. He switched. In 4 weeks, his grip strength increased. His energy stabilized. He stopped napping at noon. He didn't need medication. He just needed leucine. This is not a diet. This is structural engineering. You must treat protein as a drug. The dose matters. If you eat 10 grams at breakfast, 10 at lunch, and 10 at dinner, you got 30 grams total, but you never triggered the threshold. You failed 3 times. You must front-load it. So, we have hydrated the blood. We have set the clock with light. We have fueled the muscles with leucine. The hardware is ready. The biochemistry is optimized. But a machine is useless without a control system. We need to calibrate the sensors that keep this machine upright against gravity. If you have ever felt dizzy when standing up, or if you feel unsteady in the dark,
It is because your gyroscope is offline. We need to wake up the vestibular system, and we need to activate a tiny muscle in your hip that is practically asleep in 90% of seniors.
Practically asleep in 90% of seniors. We often think of balance as a permanent skill, like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you have it forever. This is a dangerous misconception. Balance is a perishable neurological skill. It is software, not hardware. And like any software, if you do not run the program daily, it gets corrupted. Your balance relies on a triad of sensory inputs: your eyes, vision, your inner ear, the vestibular system, and the nerve sensors in your feet, proprioception. When you sleep, this system goes offline. It enters a low-power mode. When you wake up and immediately start walking around, you are operating on a cold system. This is why so many falls happen in the bathroom first thing in the morning. The brain hasn't calibrated the gyroscope yet. To fix this, we introduce protocol number 4, the morning flamingo. This is deceptively simple, but biologically profound. While your coffee is brewing, or while you are waiting for your eggs to cook, I want you to stand on one leg. Use the kitchen counter for safety. Do not be a hero. Keep your hand hovering over the counter. Lift one foot just an inch off the floor and hold it for 30 seconds. Then switch. Why is this so critical? Because standard walking is a forward motion. It is linear. But most hip fractures do not happen from falling forward. They happen from falling sideways. Lateral instability is the #1 predictor of a nursing home admission. The muscle that prevents sideways falls is the gluteus medius. It sits on the side of your hip. When you stand on one leg, the gluteus medius has to contract violently to keep your pelvis level. If it is weak, your hip drops and you topple over. By standing on one leg every morning, you are force-feeding a signal to that forgotten muscle. You are telling the cerebellum, the primitive part of your brain, we need lateral stability today. Wake up the stabilizers. And if you want to truly age-proof your brain, try closing your eyes while you do it. Warning, this is advanced.
Be touching the counter when you close your eyes. Without vision, your vestibular system in the inner ear has to work 10 times harder. 10 seconds of blind balancing is worth 10 minutes of walking for your neural circuitry. You are rebooting the operating system before you take on the risks of the world. Now, the body is stable, the muscles are fed, the blood is thin, but there is one final dial we need to adjust before you are ready: the pressure valve. Modern life is stressful. Even if you are retired, the subconscious worry about health, money, or family creates a background hum of anxiety. This activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode. When you are in sympathetic mode, your heart rate variability drops, your blood pressure rises, your digestion shuts down. Many seniors wake up and stay in this low-grade emergency state all day long. This burns out your adrenals and exhausts your heart. We need to manually switch the lever to the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. And the only way to access that lever directly is through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the superhighway between your brain and your heart, and it responds to one thing: carbon dioxide tolerance and exhalation. This brings us to protocol number 5, the 4-7-8 breath. You can do this sitting on the edge of your bed or in your kitchen chair. It takes less than 2 minutes. Here is the mechanism. When you inhale, your heart rate naturally speeds up. When you exhale, your heart rate naturally slows down. By making your exhale twice as long as your inhale, you force a physical slowdown of the heart. The pattern is strict. Inhale through the nose quietly for 4 seconds. Hold the breath for 7 seconds. This builds mild CO2 pressure, which dilates your arteries and improves oxygen delivery. Exhale forcefully through the mouth, making a whoosh sound for 8 seconds. Repeat this cycle 4 times. It is physically impossible to remain stressed after this. The long exhale hacks the vagus nerve and sends a chemical command to your heart: slow down, we are safe. Your blood pressure can drop by 10 points in 60 seconds just by doing this. You are essentially armoring yourself against stress before the day even begins. So, look at what we have achieved in less than 60 minutes. We haven't just done some healthy stuff. We have executed a precise biological algorithm. We fixed the hydraulics, water. We calibrated the clock, light. We ignited the repair machinery, protein. We rebooted the gyroscope, balance. And we lowered the pressure, breathing. You might be thinking, this sounds like a lot of work. But let me tell you the alternative. And let me tell you about a woman named Alice who thought it was too late to change until she realized that the cost of doing nothing was far higher than the cost of these 5 simple steps. Let's bring this all together.
Let's bring this all together. The story of Alice is the story of millions of seniors. At 74, Alice was not sick in the medical sense. She didn't have a terminal disease, but she was fading. She woke up tired. Her legs felt heavy. She needed a nap by 2 p.m. She stopped driving at night because she didn't trust her reflexes. She was slowly shrinking into a smaller and smaller life. Her doctor told her it was just part of aging, but Alice decided to try the golden hour protocol, not because she believed in miracles, but because she was desperate for energy. The first week, she struggled to drink the water. She forgot the breathing,
but she stuck with the protein. She ate her eggs. By the third week, she noticed she was waking up before her alarm. The fog was gone. By the second month, she realized she hadn't felt dizzy standing up in weeks. Her gluteus medius was firing. And 6 months later, Alice didn't just feel better, she looked different. Her skin was hydrated, her posture was upright. She went back to her garden club. She started driving to see her grandkids again. She didn't take a magic pill. She didn't get a surgery. She simply optimized the first 60 minutes of her day. This is the power of the compound effect. Doing these 5 things once changes nothing. Doing them for a week changes your mood. Doing them for a year changes your biology. Think about the math. If you start your day correctly, you lower your inflammation by just 1%. But if you do that 365 days in a row, you have completely remodeled your cells. You have turned back the clock on your telomeres. You have a choice every single morning. When that alarm goes off, you are at a fork in the road. Path A is the default path. You stay in the dark, you drink the coffee, you eat the toast, you let the stress rush in. That path leads to the slow, quiet erosion of your vitality. It leads to the nursing home. Path B is the protocol. It takes discipline. It requires effort to drink water when you want coffee. It requires effort to cook eggs when you want cereal. But Path B leads to a life where you are the pilot, not the passenger. You do not have to do all 5 tomorrow. Start with the water, just the water. Then, next week, open the door and get the light. Build the routine brick by brick. Your body is forgiving. It wants to heal. It is just waiting for the right signal. The first hour of the day is the only hour you have complete control over. The rest of the day belongs to the world, but the morning belongs to you. Claim it. Hydrate, illuminate, feed, balance, breathe. Give your body the launch sequence it deserves, and it will give you back years of life that you thought were gone forever. I am your senior doctor. The clock is ticking. Make the first hour count, and I will see you in the next investigation.